Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So today we're going over the secret boss fight in the Whispers in the Wall update. And yeah, it's not exactly a new boss fight, it's a variant on a boss fight we already did with the Whispers in the Wall, the Shattered one. So we'll be going over how to get the special cosmetic from this special boss fight, and, discussing what some good builds would be for this and how you also achieve this. So before we get into it, make sure you sub this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. Really appreciate all the support lately, guys. I'll be also live on stream after this video goes up. I'll be getting the rank 4 with the new syndicate. Basically, I've not been using any reps, so don't expect shard fusion stuff from me for another 4 or 5 days, because I want to make sure I get rank 5 with the new syndicate as quickly as possible, and then I'll buy the shard fusion thing after that. So yeah, that's pretty much what to expect out of me for shard fusion videos. All right, let's get right into it. So, how do you achieve this new special boss fight? Well, it's actually like a mini Easter egg thing thrown in the game by Pablo, the lead dev. I'm actually going to show you what you get from doing this special boss fight too, because this is actually pretty difficult as far as most players be concerned, and it's going to require some more specific loadouts. You can bring, whatever you want, but in the footage you're watching right now, this was my first run of this boss fight. We just brought whatever we felt like it, and it was a mistake. There's things I'll tell you to not bring here that will probably make it a lot easier. One of those things being, bring a weapon with basically infinite ammo. The Kuva Brahma has 5 ammo, and it does not work very well on this boss. So you start off this fight. To start this up, you have to go to the Steel Path version of the Assassination on the new tile set. So Steel Path, Shattered 1 boss fight. But if that's not it, to get to this very special version of this boss fight, you need to be doing that objective. There's like a 30 eyeballs objective at the beginning to start the fight. You ignore the objective. It says collect 30 eyeballs in the first DPS phase. You collect 60 eyeballs. You ignore what the game is telling you to do. Do not go to the boss. Do not interact with the boss after you get 30 eyeballs. Keep going until you get 60 eyeballs, and then interact with the boss. And you'll get a new difficulty tier from this boss. And a reminder, this is only available on the Steel Path version of this, okay? Once you've done that, then you start the boss fight. You'll fight it as normal, but then once the actual fight phase starts, the boss will have new attacks. It will also have new mechanics too. The boss's attacks will now disable your abilities and give you a brief period of no abilities allowed after that. So it's going to be a complete slaughter if you don't play this properly. So frames I'm going to recommend for this. I'm going to recommend frames that don't really need to have their abilities active all the time. So, for example, Revenant, his measure skill will get constantly turned off. You can keep recasting it, but yeah, also, look at how many dead players there are on the screen. There's also, how many of those do you think are actual players? Well, the spoiler is 2 of those are actually cats. So if you're doing this with a squad, because also, reminder too, I didn't say this earlier, there is a restriction of respawns here too. If you die, you are dead the rest of the missions. So don't force revive or you are dead. So yeah, and your teammates you're gonna be relying on your teammates to get these reses. If there's a dead cat, it's gonna distract you. So make sure that you unequip all your cats. Here's to be some of my recommendations for loadouts here. Also, let's get into we did actually clear this. That run you just were watching there was the one we failed. So here's the first one I actually beat. So after you get your 60 eyeballs, go summon the Fragmented Tide. You want to be bringing infinite ammo weapons to this. I was playing Garuda. I'm actually going to recommend Wisp over Garuda for this because, like I said, this new boss fight disables your abilities, but guess what? It doesn't disable your Wisp motes, or rather, it will turn off your Wisp motes if they're already active, but you can just go pick the Wisp motes up again. So Wisp is very good for this. You place the motes in the corner of the arena, the boss will never, it might go over there to bother the motes, but it will never actually turn off your motes. It will never nullify, get rid of the motes. They will turn them off that are active, but you can just pick them up again. So very good there. So for this one right here, there's different arenas for the boss fight. This one right here, the weapons I'm using the Torrid Incarnon, which has, it's a very, I think it's actually one of the best weapons for this boss fight, honestly. And I've also got the Tenet Cycron, which has infinite ammo. It's a battery weapon. And I've also got the Praetos for movement speed. I'm on Garuda. I'll show you the Wisp build I recommend later. But yeah, I do think that the Torrid is probably one of the best here. And why is the Torrid so good? Because you can build incarnon ammo off of body shots. So you fire a couple grenades at the boss, a couple grenades at the tons of Xmas this thing spawns constantly. You are going to be having your incarnon ammo for the Torrid. You'll be able to get constant damage on the boss. And if you use the build I'm using today, you will be actually doing a lot of damage to the boss. So far, the 2 or 3 runs I've done, actually it's more like 2, I have done, I think, 72% damage and then 85% damage on those runs. Also, look at this right here. If your teammate goes down, prioritize their res. There is a debuff here. There are mechanics to this fight to an extent. There's a mechanic, I don't know how it causes it, but there is a debuff that reduces your bleed out timer. It goes from 0 stacks to 4 stacks. When you have 4 stacks of the debuff, the bleed out timer is like 2 seconds, guys. So the second you see someone go down, instantly run over there and res them. Because also, if you are dead at the end of this, you do not get the special loot. I'm going to show you the special loot right now. Okay, so yeah, really, please, 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 res your teammates. Everyone unequip your cat, because if you see a dead cat timer, you don't know if that's a player or a cat. So, as far as beating this extremely tanky boss fight, what do you get out of it? You get a kind of ugly cosmetic. But hey, it's a trophy. People will see this a lot. They will know that you did this, and here is the item right here. So the Manus Sundali is on the front of your ship. So you can, if you're an MR30, you can put this there instead. But yeah, if you beat this special fight, you get these creepy hands on the front of your ship. They look okay on some ships. They look pretty bad on some other ships. It looks okay on like the tiny ship, but on this one right here, pretty bad in my opinion. On that one, on the light set's okay. It's okay on the light set. But yeah, it's really up to you if you think you're going to actually wear this or use this. This is your loading screen, so everybody will see this too, so they'll know you did the fight. But to me, I think it looks kind of ugly. But yeah, as far as the builds and all that, let's go ahead and talk about what builds I was using here and why. So as far as what builds I was using on the Torrid, I did mention in my previous video that the new enemy faction are weak to 2 different things. The Necromech enemies, like the rogue Necromech enemies, are weak to corrosive damage for the most part. And these man-in-the-wall, like, arm appendage monsters, they are weak to radiation damage. They're also technically weak to electric damage too. But for the purposes of this, if you're using the Torrid cannot do radiation and electric. It can do radiation toxin. So we're doing radiation toxin today. The toxin procs will give you damage over time. The radiation will give you a good multiplier. And we are going for like basically red crit, constant barrage of damage here. That's kind of what your entire team should be running, is just a constant barrage of damage. This thing has damage attenuation like crazy. And also it summons a ton of Eximus enemies too. So you want to be having a good flow of damage on everything around the enemy. Breach Surge is great here. It will blind the enemies. It will make them take more damage. Very, very good with Breach Surge. But yeah, just get ready to be shooting this thing for a good, 10 minutes straight, basically. Now, the longest part of this fight is actually getting to it, because you have to collect those 60 eyeballs. But yeah, there's a couple things I want to tell you here as well. So, you might be seeing some eyeballs on the wall shooting lasers. At first, we didn't realize what to do with those, but there is a couple things you can do with those eyeballs to make it a little bit easier on you. So like I said earlier, every attack you get hit by in this disables your abilities, including those eyeballs. So when those eyeballs are starting to fire off the lasers, you can do a couple things to them. You can either shoot the eyeballs on the wall. It will disable the eyeball to not shoot you. Or additionally, you can try to bait the eyeball lasers into shooting at the boss. If 2 eyeball lasers shoot at the boss at the same time, the boss will become briefly stunned. So that's pretty good. You can use that to your advantage. You can see right there in the footage, he got stunned by some lasers. And that's how you can kind of beat it. Now, it's going to be in a war of attrition. There are constant level 300 Eximus spawning. The boss is spamming attacks to turn off your abilities all the time. And, some of the timers for your teammates' res is like right there. That res right there, I believe that was a 3-second res. If you don't jump on that res the second it's available, it's kind of hard to tell. It would look like a 3-second res to me. So yeah, that's with the 4x debuff too. Make sure you get those reses, because like I said earlier, if someone dies here, you don't get the loot. So if you want that creepy hands cosmetic, res your teammates or do this solo. If you do it solo, there are less eyeballs. So yeah, it does become more difficult with the full team, guys, but you have someone to res you at least. Those eyeballs on the wall, the amount of eyeballs on the wall scales to how many players are in your squad. So for a solo run, it's just 2 eyeballs. But for full squad, I believe it's 2 eyeballs per player. So you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on the wall. 8 eyeballs to deal with. Lots of lasers to dodge. But reminder, those wisp motes, they don't go away. So just keep picking up those wisp motes. Hopefully you'll be able to survive. I'd highly recommend Rolling Guard too, because Rolling Guard's not an ability. Rolling Guard is a mod, and they do not disable mods. They just disable abilities with these lasers. So after this massive bullet sponge is taken care of, and you've rezzed your teammates like 50 times, you have a second DPS phase, pretty much the exact same thing as the first one. So as you can see right here, Garuda, Breach Surge, very good for these Eximus. You throw on a Breach Surge, you throw on your Blood Orb, and all the Eximus are dead. You only have to worry about the boss at that point. Now, the Blood Orb of Garuda does not really hurt the boss. I had 178 million damage Blood Orb and did 10,000 damage to the boss. So you're going to be relying on weapons here a lot. Reeve from Revenant does not work here on the boss, and the Mesmer skin will be constantly getting disabled. So I highly recommend Wisp motes, high armor and tankiness frames. Anaros will probably just get crapped on too, so don't bring Anaros here. Let's go over some of these builds, and I'm going to show you what I use in the footage on all of my clears. We actually have a Wisp clear down here too. I think it was one of the last things I did on the stream. Yeah, so Wisp is very good for this too. You can just pop down the Wisp motes. What I usually do, I'll put Wisp motes on one end of, both ends of the arena. So like, like the far end of the arena and the beginning of the arena. I'll put 2 spots for Wisp motes, so my teammates can jump between those two. They'll dodge lasers going between the 2 Wisp motes, and they'll have tons and tons of extra health. Hopefully not dying to an outright one shot from an Xmas or a laser. So here's a full team squad right here. You can throw down the Elite on Call. The Elite on Call does not do that much damage. There is ways to cheese this fight too, guys. You can cheese it with Ivara on a dash wire because the boss does not target you on a dash wire for some reason. But yeah, this is a non-cheese method. There's the boss getting stunned by some lasers. Let's go ahead and show some builds you can use for this. And like I said earlier, I do think the Torrent is one of the best here. We have Breach Surge, also taking care of the ads. So going over some builds. Let's see what we got on the arsenals. Now, I'd like to let you know that I am using the Torrent incarnon here, but in the footage, I was actually using the Merciless Arcane. I would recommend if you have primary blight, go for this instead. On Toxic, status effect, plus crit damage and multi-shot, stacks with 40 times. No kills required, and we have a Radiation and Toxin Beam build on our Torrent. So, red crit Torrent, we got the new Radiated Reload mod to give radiation damage. I'm going to go show you how they're weak to radiation here in a second. But also, you might have noticed that boss had a lot of status procs on them. Galvanized Aptitude for some increased damage, too. The rest of this stuff, I think these are the right choices mods-wise, but yeah, you can maybe throw in some more elemental damage at some point. Double crit ribbon. So yeah, Radiation Toxin. The reason this is good against the Shattered one is because, like I said earlier, it's weak to radiation, and it's also weak to electric. But we can't do radiation electric. We have to do Radiation Toxin on the Torrid. So here's the new health type right here. So it's the health type this guy has. So super weak to radiation, kind of weak to, or actually pretty weak to void damage, pretty weak to electric damage, and pretty weak to puncture damage. It's resistant to slash and viral. So we have Nourish on there. Nourish is mainly just to get some extra viral damage for overall crits, but also to give us some energy multipliers. We're constantly getting a flow of energy. So if you don't have the Torrid Incarnon, I'd recommend bringing in another infinite ammo kind of weapon. Maybe like the Fenmore or something. But yeah, I'd highly recommend bringing in Incarnon because this guy is a bullet sponge. As far as the Wisp build I used to clear it, I was doing some help squads later in the stream. We have Brief Respite Wisp, so Brief Respite, Prime Sure-Footed, Prime Continuity, Arc and Intensify, Prime Flow, Catalyzing Shields, Augur Reach, Blind Rage, Rolling Guard, and Augur Stretch. We've also got Nourish from Grendel with Arcane Avenger and Molt Augmented. Now, I probably could have changed the arcanes there, but it overall worked very well. All you need to do is make sure that you have Rolling Guard equipped, place your motes down in the arena, place 2 spots of motes. You could have 6 motes total on the map. Place your motes down, and then just, with this build, they're going to have 777 extra health. Pretty decent. Not going to guarantee any complete survivals, but also the speed multiplier helps a lot with getting that DPS out on that boss. My Tenant Cycron was not used very much, but this thing has been very, very nice for this new update. Magnetic Tenant Cycron, and the damage types we got in here on Viral, Heat, and Magnetic. The melee was not used, but here's the melee. Just pretty much a movement speed stat stick here. And we have also Vazarin Focus School can be nice to give some healing and some invincibility if you're having a really hard time. I have this equipped, but did not actually use it. Just keep in mind the Vazarin Focus Tree can make you very tanky. Allies touched with a Void Sling are granted immunity from damage for 5 seconds. That's pretty good. You can also use Void Regen. You can get up to 50 health regen for your whole teammate, with squad regen also applied. As far as the companion, like I said, please do not bring a cat. The reason you don't bring a cat is because when the cat or the dog is bleeding out, they have a bleed out timer. It makes it very confusing of which one is which. Because you'd definitely rather prefer to res your teammate so they can get the special cosmetic loot at the end instead of your cat who will just respawn anyway. So I brought Worm Prime. The reason I brought Worm Prime is because of this. Negate, prevent a status effect every 5 seconds. Pretty good for this, as there's just stuff everywhere. Keep in mind, the nullification attack is not a status. It is a ability, I guess. But you cannot prevent that with Worm. Now that's the Torrid setup and the Wisp setup. I'm just going to quickly show the Garuda I used here. The Garuda build is not the Tharo Strike build, because at the end of that mission, guys, there's no enemies with armor. They're all just those unarmored Murmur enemies. So we got Breach Surge for taking out all those Eximus. Pretty standard stuff. I use this build for high-level missions a lot. But yeah, Tharo Strike was fine. I think I cleared it actually with Tharo Strike the first time. Actually, no, I think I cleared with Breach Surge, but this was it's a very similar build. It just there's no enemies with armor there in that final fight, so no reason to keep that. And that's basically it, guys. This fight was actually challenging. I was happy to have an actual combat challenge in Warframe for once. You know, going in there unprepared. So the first time I tried to clear this, I had the Brahma and I had the Nell Prime equipped. And this guy technically does have a headshot, but do you know where it is? Let me know in the comments if you know where the headshot for this guy is, because it's not exactly easy when he's jumping and thrashing around like this. Oh, also one more thing, if you got this far in the video. Sometimes the Shattered One boss fight, he likes to drop the arcane like way, way in the air. And it won't drop like where his corpse was, it will drop like way above where his corpse was in the sky. So just keep that in mind. If he usually drops an arcane, it's like right around where I waypointed on the screen. So I was trying to tell my teammate, hey, the arcane's probably hidden. Make sure you go pick it up. And he went to go pick it up because I actually forgot that it does that too. So keep that in mind. It also is like that with the Murmuring Whisper too, like that book demon thing. That will just drop the arcane in the wall. This update's called Arcanes in the Wall, not Whispers in the Wall, with all these arcanes that are spawning inside the wall. So either way, guys, I'll see you next time. Hopefully you found this video fun and helpful. I'll have the weekly reset video tomorrow, and then we'll have lots of build videos with the new arcanes and all that going forward. Appreciate all the support, guys. See you next time. Take it easy. Bye.